Thank you, Mr. President, Madam President. Well, I'm not going to tell the Siemens story today, but however, today we are going to borrow ideological models called United Front from the socialist regime. According to what the Vladimir Lenin says, I don't need that. You can,
他们需要你的声音。
Yeah. Now, ladies and gentlemen, well, United Front actually is a very orthodox socialist or even say communist models. He just say how you can form as a majority during the power struggle as you fighting with the others. That is not made in Taiwan. This is made in Taiwan. It works. Now, ladies and gentlemen, from the perspective that I have strong reluctance saying the Sino, well, the U.S. the rivalry. Actually, I'm the fundamentalist, the ROC fundamentalist, but I also be an ironclad Chinese. So with the United Front, the perspective that according to what Lenin says is trying to, well, unite with the tomorrow's enemy in order to defeat today's enemy, united with the secondary enemy in order to defeat the primary enemy. So during the rivalry between the Washington and Beijing, next slide, please. You know, first I would like to remind you the trade war actually is an oxymoron. It's the oxy and moron. Well, more like moron wars. Why? Because the trade is based on the mutual cooperative engagement. And the war is something is confrontation and conflicting. So when you say the trade war, you are put something with the conflict nature into one term, which is actually quite stupid. Now, who started the trade war? Actually, from the inauguration of the president, well, His Majesty, Mr. Trump. Okay, in the early 2017, the Beijing very quickly aware there's a coming storm. So this is reason why in April 2017, the President Xi Jinping come over to Florida and visit his private villa and talk to them, and with the first time mutual communication. Now, please remember, it takes more than 2 years during this rivalry and got 3 summits. The first one in April 2017, and later in a summit in Buenos Aires in late 2018. Then now we have another summit in Osaka. And well, according to those rivalry and negotiation, it totally takes the 12 rounds, while there seems is totally endless with no result. Next. You take a look about those first slide, you may notice that there is someone pulling the ties that, you know, when Mr. Trump would like to put the tariff on the Chinese import. So now, if you fighting with others, then you need more friends to join in your side to form you as a majority. But which the tactics and strategy used by Washington is actually relatively stupid. Because there's always someone who will suffer, as what we have been mentioned by there's senior, very honorable guest from the East Coast that mentioned about his business that suffered from that, right? Because you adding some tariff. Now let's goes back to something which is very basic. Who paid the tariff? It's actually the U.S. businessmen, retailers that pay the tariff, because we all know there's a general principle called free on board, right? So when they left China and come to the U.S. by adding the insurance and transportation, then the cost, the value of the goods, then you charge a percentage. That's what we call tariff. Who is going to pay the tariff? Who receives the money? The U.S., the businessman, the consumer, and also the retailer. So you are creating the enemy. This is reason why those hearing and testimony, the U.S. businessmen come in against the president's, Trump's administration's idea. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to remind you, it takes more than 2 years during this rivalry. If you are a Chinese government, you already make certain kinds of progress adjustment. Because you well know that there is a storm will come to you, and you make the first trial, first efforts in April 2017. Xi Jinping flew into the Florida and talked with Trump with the basic understanding, then come back. Is that Chinese so stupid will not prepare everything? Actually, according to the fresh statistics, just say that the Chinese import and export to China, all the statistics actually going low. Now, what's the trick behind that? Because all the Chinese already shifted their export by way of other country. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you define a product which is produced by China because there's a certain value, If it will be manufactured in China,